My name is Jasper, and I set out to bring back life to a little abandoned town. I thought I'd do another mistakes video for buying property in Portugal, since you all loved the former 5 mistakes video. So I thought I'd make another one. Now, I have been here for over 5 years now, off and on, and I bought 13 properties with 6 houses on them. And this gave me a lot of experience in the rules and regulations here in Portugal, which I like to share with you. I think with all the problems that arose from buying these properties, I'm kind of in the position to give you some advice. Because you need to be somewhat careful when buying properties here in Portugal. We might soon be buying our 14th and 15th property. One of them also contains a house. And that new property is also going to be a story in itself. But I can't share that yet. What I can share with you is another 5 mistakes. Let's get into it. The first mistake I want to talk to you guys about. I known about this, but not exactly the law. And now I know more about this mistake. Mistake number 1. Not taking into account the right of refusal. In Portugal they have something that they don't have in Holland. You have different land classifications here, urban and rustic. And rustic land, this also always, with some exceptions, needs to be offered to the owners of the neighboring lands. And officially this needs to be done in writing. So what is the case here is that as soon as somebody wants to sell their land and they have a buyer for this land, at that point they have to offer this land to the owners of the neighboring lands. And then the owner has the option to buy it for the same price as the potential other buyer. So, but it's something to keep into account when you bought your property here already, but especially when you're going to buy a property. Because if your property contains partially or completely a rural land, if the seller where you buy your property from, if they don't offer it to the neighbors, after you bought it, so the sale has been made, the neighbors who have the bordering land can object if they haven't given their right of refusal. And from this can come some really strange situations. When we go outside in a bit, I'll show you something. This land was offered to me for 18,000 euro 4 years ago. And eventually it's now been sold in the books for 200 euro. When we go outside in a bit, I'll explain some more about that. Mistake number 2. Trusting people that don't work for you. So for instance, owners of properties, the sellers, real estate agents that work for the sellers, solicitors that work for the sellers or for the real estate agents. These are all people that have something to gain by selling this property. And if you want people to help you here in Portugal or wherever in the world, you're going to need people that work for you and not for the other party where you're buying something from, for instance. So I made this mistake myself. The last couple of properties I bought straight from the owners. But for instance, this house and also my first property I bought through a real estate agent. And it isn't said that it's always negative, but if the real estate agent is the seller's real estate agent, they get profit from the sale, right? So like for instance, the price of the property, they won't go much lower because their commission is based on the selling price. So if you go to a real estate agent who works for the seller and you say, I want to pay less for the property, then 9 out of 10 times they will say like, oh, but the owner said already that it was the minimum, or no, this is the minimum, or some other kind of, how you say, to get rid of the question, you know? So you need to have somebody that actually works on your behalf. So this can be a real estate agent, for instance, that you hire to help you negotiate a property with an owner or with another real estate agent. In Holland, we have this quite regularly. It's called like sort of a buyer's real estate agent instead of a seller's real estate agent. And they provide their services to help you get the best out of the buy. What you see a lot of times is that especially if it involves like smaller amounts, rules like putting the money in a third-party account. The notaries, for instance, have this, and lawyers have this. It's like a third-party account that if a company goes bankrupt, they cannot touch this money. You know, it's like a third-party account. And for large sales, they often do this. But for smaller sales, you see just like, transfer the 10% into the real estate account or directly to the buyer or seller. And this you should be careful with. At the moment, there are being hired a lot of people because there's a lot of market, and not all people have good intentions. And some people just run away with your money, and you need to be careful of that. Also for solicitors, for instance, it's quite common that the buying party chooses the solicitor where the deed is being signed. Now this is a problem most of the time for foreigners because they don't have any idea where is a good solicitor in Portugal. So a lot of times the solicitor is recommended by the real estate agent of the seller of the property. And they have sort of a common interest in selling you the property. So there might be some stuff that they overlook. Number 3 is buying property in the forest. My properties are all in the village, and as you've seen in other videos of mine, here we're not have much problems with forest fires. Like the area has problems with forest fires, but our village, for instance, it's not likely that you have forest fires like coming close to the village, because there's a fire barrier like almost all around the village. But when you buy a property, a lot of people want to be really rural and want to be maybe not in the village, maybe on the outskirts, or maybe even like further up in the forest. And one thing you have to take into account is forest fires. One thing to take into account with that is that if you have properties where you are not registered, then like emergency services and stuff, they don't know that you're there. So normally they have an inventory of people who are in that area and who lives where. And if you have a property, like there is a property here in the village on the outskirts, those people live there, but they couldn't be registered there. So they have another house in a nearby village, what is actually not habitable at the moment, but where they could register themselves. So if a forest fire would break out in the area where they actually live, the authorities think that they're living like in that other village and that there's nobody permanently living there. Forest fires are still very regular here in Portugal. Here in the area, like Castelo Branco and up to Fundão, you have a lot of agricultural land. And if that land is still used for agriculture, then there are not much trees. So some of this area is less likely to get forest fires than other parts of this area. So, but when you're searching for properties, take into account also this, that if you live in a very forested area, that you might want officials to do know that you're there because of forest fires, for instance. Number 4. This is actually sort of a recap. On the former 5 mistakes videos, I warned you guys already about paying too much for your property. And it's crazier than ever now. Guys, I see people buying properties for like 4 times the value. And it's not like small amounts. It's like a property that should be 50,000 euro goes for 170, 180,000 euro. It's not good for anybody. It's not good for you because you pay too much. It's not good for other people who want to buy here. It's especially not good for the Portuguese who still want to buy a house here. It is good then for the Portuguese who already have a house here or want to sell something. But I've seen online some properties where there might be 2 acres of land with a building on it that is sort of renovated. But the advert already states that there's no papers with any of it. I saw like a pool like in the garden, and there was like a building that was completely renovated. So this means that both are not registered and you're actually only buying a piece of land with 2 acres where you officially can't even register yourself for 150,000 euro. So I understand that, for instance, from Holland, right? Like you had a house there for like 40 years and you have a lot of, we call it extra value on your house. So your mortgage is a lot lower than the selling price. And some people have like 200,000 euros to spend. And they come here with those 200,000 euros. And they get sold a property for 150,000 euros that is basically worth like maybe 50, or if you're lucky, 90 or 100,000 euro. And to Dutch people, that might seem like the 150 might already seem like a bargain because the house is the same size as the house they sold in Holland for like 600,000 euros. It has a lot more land. So yeah, I can understand if you're coming from a different country where the prices are much higher, that you have like sort of like not the right perspective on the house prices in Portugal. And I'm not talking about Lisbon or Porto or anywhere near those big cities or the Algarve. I'm talking about the interior part of Portugal. And it's sort of becoming like a big grab. I say to the Portuguese, I say escuros na olhos. I'm probably pronouncing that completely wrong. That is the former currency from Portugal, escuros. So they have like dollars in their eyes. You know the English saying probably. So I freely translated it to Portuguese, and everybody is having always a laugh at it. Escuros na olhos. Yeah, my Portuguese is far from perfect. So please stop paying these ridiculous prices for houses, guys. Do some more investigation and see what you can buy for what price. Because if the prices keep going up like this, then I can sell everything like for a really big price. No, we're not gonna do that. Time for snacky? I thought we had switch up the scenery a bit for this last one. Mistake number 5. To be honest, I'm borrowing this from my fellow YouTubers. I was doing some investigation on what to put in this video, and they came up with a really good point, but is also very applicable to a lot of you guys who watch my videos. And that is expectations versus reality. Because in the contrary to mistake number 4, there are also people who have expectations that are really too high compared to what they can get for the price. In one of the last videos I told you guys that I could help with supplying some information or pointing you guys in the right direction if you send me an email. And I got a lot of emails from people who apparently have too high expectations. If I hear the budget and what they would like for the budget, it's not really doable. It's not in line with reality. This might be also a little bit due to my own fault, although I try to explain to you guys why I could get lower prices, for instance. If you see videos on here, you see like I bought this property for 12,000 euro. It might give you guys the idea that that is realistic for you, but as I also said in other videos, it's because I've been here for a long time. I'm preparing to wait because some of these properties were, the asking price was like 20 or 25,000 euro. And then because I'm here in the village and I wait and I negotiate, I might be able to get it for half of the price. But that's not realistic if you don't live here and if you don't speak the language. So you cannot base your expectations on that. But the budget is not the only thing that concerns expectations. I had this myself in the beginning. Portugal is a country where you really need to have patience, also with like government staff, but also with people in general, because everything moves at a much slower pace. And it sometimes is just not realistic to get things done very fast. And you need to be prepared to take some time, especially if there is like buildings that still need to be registered, or so a lot of properties here are owned by multiple people, and sometimes they haven't even agreed all on the price, so it takes sometimes time for them to get to the same level in what's possible. And also they sometimes live abroad, so there needs to be time planned for them to come here, that everybody's together to sign the deeds. So things, be expected things to not move very fast. You can get lucky also, and that things move fast, as well as you can be lucky in finding a property for 12,000 euro. That's not out of the question, but it's not like the general, you won't find it very often. If you need a reality check, I can help you. I'm still working on my product, my book. It's not going to be a book yet. I asked you in one of the former videos to send me emails if you have any questions. And I still like for you to do that, and I can answer you in as best as I can. And eventually I'm going to get all these questions together, and I think we're first going to put them in sort of a group or a forum where if you ask a question, then other people also can learn from this question. Because that gives a lot more, how you say, that gives my information to a lot more people at once. So I think that's a good option, but first I need you to send me your questions, and then from these questions I can derive what we can put in this group. It won't be expensive, and maybe we'll also do like a dedicated live for this eventually. If there are enough people in this group, then maybe we can do a monthly or a bi-monthly live. Let's see. If you want to send me an email, this is the email address. You can also find it in the description. But please make it a little bit directed questions that I can see that you're also yourself involved in the process already. I got some emails from people, yes, I like more information. And that was it. And it's very hard for me I need to know a little bit about where you are and what you're trying to do, you know, and best would be if you have like sort of specific questions. I'm not going to share all my contacts here, so don't ask me for that. But any other questions you have, please send them to me, and I'll try to respond as soon as possible. I hope this video was somewhat interesting for you all.